Hi, in this lesson I will cover DMARC. If you want to skip the theory part and set up DMARC, go to the guide I linked under this lesson. Using that guide, make sure to at least enable DMARC reporting. In short, they will give you more information about your deliverability. No worries, the guide will explain it in more detail. So, DMARC stands for Domain-Based Message Authentication Reporting and Conformance. That's a long one, but pretty well describe what DMARC does. Let's break it down. First, it's a domain-based. That means you set it up in your domain's DNS panel. Next is a message authentication. To take DMARC effective, you should have at least SPF or DKIM set up, ideally both. DMARC lets you tell email receivers what to do when both SPF and DKIM fail to pass with alignment. So, what is alignment? In simple terms, alignment means your domain shows up consistently in different parts of email. Now, let's see how you can check this and why it's so important. As we discussed, when you send email, your domain shows up in multiple places. One of them is the email header. In the email header, you will find the from address domain. That's what the recipient sees in their inbox. For SPF alignment, the domain in the return path must match the from address domain. For DKIM alignment, the domain in the D equals tag must match the from address domain. This is what DMARC checks for alignment. It may sound a bit abstract, so let me walk you through a real-world example. Imagine you use you@yourdomain.com as your email. Then there is a scammer that uses an address like scammer@theirdomain.com. Now, here's the trick. They can so-called spoof the so-called from address to look like it came from you@yourdomain.com. To the recipient, it appears like the email address is sent from you, and this is so-called spoofing. Meanwhile, the scammer sends the email from their domain. So their SPF and DKIM records pass, but only for their domain. This is where DMARC's alignment check will kick in. The receiving mail server checks the from address, it sees your domain, then it checks the return path, so what is used by SPF. That shows the scammer domain, meaning it is not aligned. Then it checks the DKIM signatures, D equals tag again, the scammer's domain. That also doesn't align with the from address. Since neither SPF nor DKIM are aligned, DMARC fails. If you have DMARC reporting enabled, you will see this failure in your reports. Now you know someone tried to spoof your domain, and you can take action. Just to be crystal clear, a scammer can pass the authentication check for SPF and DKIM. They can set it up for their own domain. However, they cannot pass the alignment test as they can't set this up for your domain. You can test it yourself. Send an email address to yourself and inspect the header. For instance, in Gmail, you can find the email header when you open this email, then click on the three dots on the top right in the email thread. Lastly, click on Show Original. Now you will see the email header. There you will see the from address, meaning what your recipient sees, the return path, what SPF uses, and the D tag domain, so what DKIM uses. If all three shows your domain, it's properly aligned. If not, and someone is spoofing you, only the from address will be yours. The others will show the scammer's domain. That causes alignment to fail. Okay, that's the core of DMARC, but there is more. Let's talk about the reporting part. When you set up DMARC, you can choose to receive aggregate reports. These are sent once per day, and they show which IP sends emails using your domain, whether SPF and DKIM passed, whether they were aligned, and whether DMARC passed or failed. This helps you to spot unauthorized senders, catch misconfigured SPF or DKIM records, and understand how your domain is being used. These are all things a legitimate sender would care about. Next is the conformance part. This tells the receiving end what to do when DMARC fails. You have three options: none, take no action, just monitor, quarantine, send the email to spam, or reject, block the email entirely, meaning it bounces. So now, since you're doing cold outreach, start with P equals none. Then watch your DMARC reports for a while. If SPF and DKIM are working, consider moving to P equals quarantine. This way, spoofed emails will get flagged as spam. Your brand reputation will be safer, as prospects are less likely to see these emails. Let's cover the last part, how to add DMARC record. Go to your domain's DNS panel. There, create a new text record. Set the name to _DMARC and TTL to auto. For the value, start simple and just set up the P equals tag to none. This enables DMARC with a monitoring-only policy. If you want to get reports, add a RUA equals tag after the P equals tag. This tells providers to send daily DMARC reports to an email you specified. Lastly, once you are sure that SPF and DKIM work, you can enforce DMARC. To do this, change the P equals tag to either quarantine, so emails go to spam, or reject, so that the spoofed emails always bounce. Alright, that was a lot to take in, but I hope you fully understand DMARC. Just like with SPF and DKIM, we have detailed help articles to guide you. I'll link them under this lesson. Thanks for joining me, and see you in the next lesson.